Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to cover everything there is to know about the Essence of Finality Amulet. We will cover what the Essence of Finality Amulet is, how to make it, how the amulet works, and then finally what special attacks to use on the Essence of Finality Amulet. Let's start with what an Essence of Finality Amulet actually is. The Essence of Finality Amulet is a best in slot amulet that your character can use in the necklace slot, and it has a bunch of special effects that I'm going to cover over the video. Let's start, however, with how we make an Essence of Finality Amulet. You only need 3 things to make an Essence of Finality Amulet: an Alchemical Hydrix, an Amulet of Souls, and a Reaper Necklace. The Alchemical Hydrix is by far the hardest part to get, and refer to the RuneScape wiki to figure out how you make and get an Alchemical Hydrix. All you need to do to make an Essence of Finality Amulet is to use the Amulet of Souls, the Reaper Necklace, and the Alchemical Hydrix on each other. You can actually also buy an Essence of Finality Amulet off of the Grand Exchange as well. Now, to color an Essence of Finality Amulet, all you need to do is use any colored dye on the Essence of Finality Amulet. Not any of the expensive clue dyes such as the Barrows dye, Third Age dye, Blood dye, or Ice dye. You just use a red dye, blue dye, or any other colors that are available except an orange dye on the amulet. You can also recolor an amulet at any time by using another dye on the amulet. To add a special attack to the Essence of Finality Amulet, all you need to do is use the weapon of your choice with a special attack on the amulet. However, be careful, because doing this process destroys the weapon in the process. So any really expensive weapons, such as the STATIUS WARHAMMER, SEREN GODBOW, and such, make sure you're happy with your choice and that you are not going to try to sell your weapon back, because you will not be able to do it after you finish this process. Finally, you can add an ornament kit onto the Essence of Finality Amulet, which will slightly increase the stat boosts that the amulet has, and will turn the amulet into a different item. So if you have a bunch of these amulets, you can differentiate them between each other in your bank. It's important to note that if you dye an Essence of Finality Amulet, put a weapon special attack in, or an ornament kit to this amulet, you will never be able to trade one of these again. So make sure you're happy with your choice when you do this. So the Essence of Finality Amulet actually has the Reaper Necklace and the Amulet of Souls effect in one amulet, as well as special attacks from a weapon that you have sacrificed in. We are first going to cover what the Amulet of Souls and the Reaper Necklace effects are, in case you did not already know. The Reaper Necklace has an effect that adds 0.1% accuracy every hit, at a maximum of 3% accuracy in total, so 30 hits. Now, for every 0.1% accuracy boost that the Reaper Necklace has, 54 seconds after that boost has been applied, the effect will wear off, which means every roughly few hits or so, you're going to start losing a stack or two every once in a while as you use this. However, this isn't actually that relevant, because as long as you continue to attack whatever target you have, you're going to have either 29 or 30 stacks, or 2.9% more accuracy, or 3% more accuracy, as long as you do not get off your target for a long period of time. Amulet of Souls has 2 effects. It makes the Soul Split Curse heal on average 18.75% more per heal, although there is actually more to this mechanic that I do not want to cover in this video. And then it makes Protection Prayers reduce damage by 60% instead of 50%, which actually means if you're praying the right prayer against an attack of a certain type, you're actually going to take 20% less damage by wearing an Amulet of Souls. Now let's move on to the weapon special attacks. Again, I'm going to remind you that using a weapon on the Essence of Finality Amulet to add a special attack is going to permanently lose the weapon. So if you're planning on changing weapons with this amulet, make sure you only ever use cheap weapons. Also, when you're using the special attack, you must be wielding a main hand weapon that is the same style as the weapon that you sacrificed to the amulet. So for example, if you're using a SEREN GODBOW special attack in your Essence of Finality Amulet, you'll need to wield a ranged weapon. Now I will go through the most popular weapon special attacks, as well as my favorite one. This specific effect is very strong, because you can use any weapon special attack. However, it will be used instead of the tier of weapon that you sacrificed, it will be instead the tier of the weapons that you're wielding. So for example, the GUTHIX staff may only be a tier 60 weapon, but if you use it with a tier 90, 92, or 95 weapon, your GUTHIX staff special attack will instead do the same special attack damage percentage. However, in actual damage, it will be from that of a tier 90, 92, or 95 weapon instead of a tier 60. Let's start with the cheap ones. The weapons that you can switch between your Essence of Finality Amulet without too much cost. All the other weapons that I mentioned in the expensive or very expensive categories, you will not want to switch between. You're going to want to devote one Essence of Finality Amulet just to keep using that weapon. Let's start with the Dragon Claws, which is actually the most expensive of the fairly cheap weapons to use here. The Dragon Claws actually does 4 hits that total between, on average, 176 and 400% damage. It has a somewhat unusual special effect as well, in that if your first few hits on the Dragon Claws hit relatively low, you're actually guaranteed that the later hits will hit very high. Also, if you miss the first 2 of the 4 attacks it does, it will try to hit twice again. This special attack is actually generally best when you have a lot of adrenaline in melee and nowhere to really use it, because your thresholds and ultimates are all on cooldown, which basically means only really after a relentless proc. A somewhat less important point also is that both Dragon Claw and Offhand Dragon Claw must be sacrificed to the Essence of Finality Amulet to use this special attack. This special attack requires 50% adrenaline. The DARKBOW special attack is a special attack that does 2 shots between 148% and 338% ability damage each. It requires 65% adrenaline, and like the Dragon Claw's special attack, is only really used for having a lot of adrenaline. However, you will be able to use the special attack fairly frequently if you're using SPEC Criminal Bolts. The GUTHIX Staff special attack is a magic special attack that uses 25% adrenaline, and it does between 140 and 300% ability damage. It also significantly reduces the defense of whatever target you are currently fighting, which means it can be very useful against high defense bosses such as Telos. Even against bosses you have good accuracy on though, you can use the special attack in your normal DPS rotations. Now let's move on to the expensive weapon special attacks. These weapon special attacks are fairly expensive, but they're not too unreasonable. However, you probably want to devote one Essence of Finality Amulet to using these. Let's start with the ARMADYL BATTLESTAFF. The ARMADYL BATTLESTAFF is a special attack that uses 50% adrenaline and fires 5 hits between 18 and 90% damage each. While using this ability, it's considered a channeled ability, which means it combos well with the Channeler's Ring and also with the Staff of ARMADYL. This special attack can be a nice addition to any Staff of ARMADYL DPS rotations. However, if you do not have the Staff of ARMADYL, this special attack is actually not that good. Now let's cover the STATIUS Warhammer. STATIUS Warhammer has a special attack that needs 35% adrenaline and does between 208 and 83% ability damage, and also massively reduces the defense of whatever target you have. This is only good against any very high defense target, because otherwise you're probably better off using a normal threshold or ultimate ability. Now let's cover the very expensive weapons. It's important to note that I've not actually really been able to test most of these weapons because they're very expensive and I felt I had better upgrades elsewhere. However, I'll cover where they are roughly used. First, let's cover the SEREN GODBOW. I've actually used the SEREN GODBOW special attack a lot myself. It uses 30% adrenaline and does a fairly varying amount of damage. It depends on the size of the target you're fighting. Against a large target, it can do a very, very, very large amount of damage. However, against a small target, you may not really want to use this weapon. Now, this is a tier 92 weapon, which means for it to actually be worth using the SEREN GODBOW in the Essence of Finality Amulet, you either want to have a tier 90 or 92 CROSSBOW, or, when they eventually release it, a tier 95 bow or crossbow as well. Because otherwise, you're going to may as well have just used the SEREN GODBOW. It actually also works with Criminal Bolt effects. So, for example, with Onyx Criminal Bolts, you have multiple chances to heal, and if you use Ruby Criminal Bolts, if one of them procs, you can suddenly do very massive amounts of damage with the SEREN GODBOW as well. This special attack also has a 30-second cooldown to watch out for. The Eldritch Crossbow special attack is an interesting special attack. It requires 25% adrenaline, and it has an effect. For 15 seconds, instead of healing with Soul Split will instead do damage to your target equal to 4 times the amount of damage that you would have healed, which actually means this special attack can actually be a very massive DPS increase if you know how to use Soul Split at the boss. It also combos well with the Soul Split effect that the Essence of Finality Amulet has from the Amulet of Souls. However, the Eldritch Crossbow is a tier 92 ranged weapon, which means I think it is actually only worth using the Eldritch Crossbow in this Essence of Finality Amulet if you are already using Blightbound crossbows. Although, I could be wrong. I've never decided to make the Eldritch Crossbow just to put it into the Essence of Finality Amulet. Now, the final weapon that is really, really expensive is the EK-ZEKKIL, which is a tier 95 sword that requires 2 hands to use. Its special attack has a 60-second cooldown and requires 50% adrenaline to use, and is a very, very powerful bleed. Now, this bleed gets even longer and more powerful if you add an additional bleed as well, which means you can do huge amounts of damage with additional bleeds stacked on top of the EK-ZEKKIL special attack itself. It's actually commonly used with the Masterwork Spear of Annihilation, because the Masterwork Spear of Annihilation can add additional hits as well as strengthen the bleeds that you're already using with the EK-ZEKKIL special attack. Now, I will say I haven't actually tried this as well, and it's actually very expensive to get the whole setup, and I think it will make your DPS rotations a little bit wonky if you haven't figured out how to use it already. But I believe Evil Lucario does have a video where he does an actual analysis of this weapon. Now, my favorite weapon has not been mentioned in the video yet. This is the Sardomin God Sword. It has a special attack that does 75 to 275% ability damage and restores your life points by half of the damage that you do to your target. It also restores your prayer points by 2.5% of the damage you do to your target. This special attack requires 50% adrenaline and can be used whenever you have 50% adrenaline. And I actually find that this is possibly the best special attack, or at least the most underrated special attack for a PvMer like me, who is not necessarily trying to get the fastest kills, because by no means is this the most efficient special attack to use for damage, but it is very nice just to have a more easy time doing certain bosses, and especially if you need to save food at that boss. I think I've covered everything that you would need to know about the Essence of Finality Amulet in this video. Although, if you have anything you want to share with me, feel free to share it in the comments. Feel free to share me as well if you have a special attack that you like to use that has not been mentioned in this video. And be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the video, and or if you learned something. I'll try to put out another video next week as well. But also, you can see my Twitch streams, which I do every day except Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, in the link down below. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.